Hi, welcome back to the workshop, where I'm just going to do a very quick video and document a little upgrade to the workshop that I've been meaning to do for a little while. Now, I've been making guitars now for quite a long time, and generally I'm really happy with the results. However, I think you should always be looking to improve and to be updating our techniques and tools, etc. But that's not always as easy as it sounds, because tools can get expensive, so whenever possible I try and save a little bit of money if I can. Now, anyone who's been following this channel for any length of time will have seen me knocking frets in with this fret hammer. Every single fret I've put into every single guitar I've ever made has been put in with this hammer, and it does a good job. It's a little bit time consuming, it's quite noisy, but more importantly, I think it's a little bit inconsistent. And sometimes when you've knocked the frets in with this hammer, it comes to fret dressing time and you have to take off a fair amount of material to get those frets leveled. So to hopefully remedy that, I want to try something different, get rid of that and introduce this, which is a fret pressing caul. And for those that don't know, this is used to actually physically press the frets in to the fretboard. Now, I've seen these used in a drill press. You just chuck it up in the drill press and you pull down on the handle like you normally would when you're drilling, obviously without the drill turned on, and that will push your fret in. However, a couple of things worry me about that. My drill press was quite expensive. I'm not sure it's designed to have that much weight put through the mechanism like that, so I don't really want to do it for that reason. And the other reason is I just think it makes sense to have specific tools for specific jobs. So to that end, I've made another purchase, and I've got myself one of these cheap little arbor presses. Now, this whole setup with the press, the caul, I've got a load of inserts here as well that came with the caul. So basically that goes from 7¼ inch radius right the way through to 20. So there's everything I'll ever need there in terms of the cauls. But you can buy this whole setup, including the table that we're going to have to make, from StewMac. And last time I checked, that would cost me around about £200 UK. But I'd also have to have that shipped, which I don't know. I've never had anything shipped from StewMac before, so I don't really know how much it costs, but it would be a significant increase on that £200. This setup that I've got, so all of these cauls, this bit and the press, has cost me a little over £100. So that's roughly half the price, but it does mean that I'm going to have to do a little bit of work. Now, firstly, this is way too long to go in my machine, so I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit to make that a better fit. And secondly, as I mentioned, we're going to have to make a table to go in this so that we can rest the fretboard on it. So first up, we need to measure this part and just see how much exactly we need to get rid of. And I think to start with, the best thing we can do is take this to pieces, which is actually quite easy. That bit just pulls out, and that bit comes out the bottom. And what I need to do first is just measure how deep this hole is. And that comes in, that's 18mm. And I think we need probably about an inch or so of this protruding from the bar. So that's 25mm and 18mm. Which of course gives us 43mm. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this bar off the caul, which is easy enough, just one grub screw. Take a little bit of blue masking tape on it, just so we can see our mark. Let's set our calipers to 43mm. Mark that out. And I've just very quickly cut that down with a hacksaw. It wasn't particularly hard, it's quite soft steel. Maybe just clean this up a little bit with a file. It's actually cut quite nicely. I'll just take off any little sharp edges that there might be. Now, needless to say, I'm pretty confident that any warranty I might have had on this is now well and truly void, but sometimes these things just have to be done, don't they? Okay, so that cut down, put this back together again. And then we'll just put that in position. Now, it's worth mentioning that the hole in this bar in the press is a little bit bigger than the diameter of this bar in the caul, but it seems to be tightening up okay. And it's also worth remembering that all of the pressure is going to be downwards, so there shouldn't be any kind of lateral forces involved, so I think we should be absolutely fine with that. And then all that remains is for us to fashion some sort of a table to go on here. Now, all I'm going to do is use this kind of piece of 3/4 inch plywood for that. Now, looking at this, I want it to extend a little bit beyond there, so it's kind of past where this caul is. So I'm looking around about 120, 125 mil. So we'll just mark that on there and get it to the bandsaw. Okay, and there it is, all put together. I've bolted this down just with one single bolt. There was already a hole in the actual press, so that was quite handy. Now, you might think that that looks kind of like a little bit unstable, but if you think about this, all of the force is going to go through this central section, and we have plenty of kind of cast iron press underneath it, so I think that'll be plenty strong enough. All we need to do is kind of like support the length of the fretboard just to make it easier to manage, and potentially, if needed, you could also clamp it down onto there, but I don't think that'll be necessary. So with that all put together, I suppose the only thing we need to do now is to see if it actually works. And to that end, I've got a little bit of offcut of a fretboard, and I've cut some very shonky and probably unparalleled fret slots in there. I haven't got a fretboard that I'm working on at the moment, so I can't test it for real. And I've also got some spare frets that have been left over from builds. I've actually checked this insert against my 12-inch radius gauge, and it is spot on as far as I can tell. The one thing about these that differs, I think, from the Stumac ones is I'm pretty confident that the Stumac cauls are made of brass, which will be softer than the frets, so won't damage them. I'm not sure what these are made of. They're not magnetic, so it doesn't appear to be steel, but it is some kind of plated metal. Potentially, I'm thinking they are quite light. Might be plated aluminium, so I don't know how durable that will be, but time, I'm sure, will tell. Okay, so I'll think of a way of setting up a camera, get a little bit of a closer shot, and see if we can get these frets pressed in. I've prepared this little bit of fretboard as I normally would. I've cut the fret slot in, and I've just opened the top out a little bit with a triangular file. Now, all I've done there is I've just given that a slight tap on the ends just to get it seated. And then that has, I don't know how well that's going to show, I'll bring you in for some close-ups in a minute, but that has pushed that fret in absolutely brilliantly. You have to put a little bit of pressure on, but it does appear to be working. So again, I've just given it a tap at either end just to seat it. think this could probably do with being mounted on a big block that I could hold in the vise, because it is moving around a little bit when I put the full pressure on. But it has pushed those frets in beautifully. It really has got them right down onto that radius in a fraction of the time that it would take using just the hammer. So yeah, very, very happy with that. And I think we can see here that those frets have gone in really, really nicely. Can't even get this really thin feeler gauge under, which is, it's an 1/8 thou feeler gauge. Okay, so there we go. A little over £100, about an hour of work just to get it up and running properly. And we've got ourselves a little machine that's capable of pushing frets in as well as we ever need them to be. So very, very happy with that. I'm having a look at these frets now and can run a fingernail on them, and there doesn't seem to be any marring from this caul at all. So I think that's done an absolutely brilliant job. I do think I need to find a way of attaching this more securely to the bench so that it's not moving when I've got full weight on this lever. So there is a little bit of room for making it even better still, but for a first go, very, very happy with that. And I'm looking forward to doing my first fretboard and saving a bit of time whilst I'm at it. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. Hopefully that's given you something to think about in regards to your fretting technique. As always, smash that like button if you've enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.